Alright guys, should have the gun, but so much for hunting. This video is a repair video, but before I start repairing, I am going to measure this snow. There's about 5 inches on top of this cab. So we got around 5-6 inches of snow depending on where you're at. It's hard to measure on top of stuff like that because, as you can see, it was a little windy when it was blowing, so I don't know exactly what we have. I don't know. The problem is there can be drifts in certain spots, so it's kind of hard to measure. Right there, there's almost 7. But, anywho, that's not what this is about. This isn't about how excited I am about winter, winter, yay. This is about the skid loader, and that will be there in a moment. Alright, so, back to the Bobcat. The Bobby Catty. I had checked over a few things that a few people had mentioned. When I come back out, I undid the fuel line up here that feeds the injector pump. I pumped that into my Pepsi bottle here, and the fuel looked clean, good. Primer bulb was pumping nice. Put it back together, fired it up, went out, plowed snow for about 3 minutes, died in the yard, and would not fire at all. Took that fuel line back off, and it was pumping a little bit of fuel with a lot of air bubbles. And then I got nothing. Left it sit for 10 minutes, still got nothing. Ended up taking the fuel line off in front of the primer bulb and tried blowing air back into the tank. I could not blow into the tube. I loosened up the fuel cap. I could blow air into the tube. But now, as you can see, I got nothing, so I'm pretty sure it's in the tank. You can see this is how I got the skid loader back to the shop. I drilled a hole on top of the Pepsi bottle, put diesel fuel in it, run it in here. Yeah, I don't like working on stuff outside. Why pay to heat a shop and have to work out in the cold? So anyhow, what I am going to do is lift this cab. I'm gonna take the bucket off, lift the booms up in the air and lock them, lift the cab up. And then I'm going to locate the fuel line going into the tank. I'm going to pull it apart. I'm really hoping that that tube that goes into the tank isn't totally broke off. I'm going to try and get all those parts out of the tank. I don't know if it is totally broke. I don't know if my magnet will go down in there and find that check valve off the end of that or not. And then I'm going to replace the fuel line from this primer bulb back to the tank. And then I'm going to replace that fuel line, take that fuel pump back out, because I do not believe that that pump is bad. So I'm going to take that electric fuel pump back off of here. And then I'm going to replace the other fuel lines while I'm at it, just because being I'm doing it. I'm going to replace them all, so they're all replaced at the same time. So when I put them in my notes, they're all done at the same time. And I'm going to get this stuff all done. Hopefully I can find all the parts at Cenex. Hopefully I get that check valve back out. Hopefully it's not junk. And hopefully I can fix it that way. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get a hold of Bobcat. And chances are they won't have it in stock. And if they do, they're 45 minutes away and the roads suck right now. So anyways, I am going to start working on this. And I will take you guys along for the ride. Yeah, I probably am not going to video the whole time I am working, because I'm going to try and keep it PG, and just in case there's any young kids watching. So I have been forewarned that it's kind of a bugger to remove and reinstall those parts in the tank. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to get my door back off quick, drop the bucket, lift the booms and lock them up, and then get the cab tipped forward, or tipped up. So stay tuned. Alright, as you can see, I got my boom lock up there. Now I need to remove these two bolts, two nuts in there, which you cannot see, and tip this cab up. Alright guys, so I got it somewhat clean. As you can see, I'm right there. I did spin it a little bit. There's another one right behind it, and I'm really hoping that the front one is the one that I need to replace. I turned that a little bit. I am going to pull on the fuel line back here and see if that straightens it back to the front. And if it does, that should mean that that is our culprit. And would you look at that? My flashlight now died, but it is straight. So it is the front one. I am going to try and move my big light over here a little bit closer. And you guys can sit here and stare inside my dirty skid loader for a moment. Try and move this 500 watt halogen light without bumping it on anything. As most of you know, halogens don't like to be bumped. Because if they get bumped or set down hard, they tend to blow balls. There's that. Hopefully we all can see a little better. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. You can see it down in there. There's the culprit. So I am going to get him out of there, but I do not know where I'm going to put you guys that you can see what I am doing. If I can get the camera back in here out of my way without getting my you can see this is the guy right there. I can just get out of there by prying with my finger, or pulling out with my finger. Problem is you can't see what you're doing with all these hoses in the way. Grab me a little bit more hose. Maybe I can get a pry bar down there. This pry bar. If I can get him underneath there. I know my hand is in your guys' way that you can't really see what I'm doing. Would you look at that? There is no hose on the end of that. So I'm going to stick my magnet down in there and see if I can't fish out the end of that. There's a really good chance that I won't get it, but it's worth a shot. I don't know how far down this tank goes, or how much I'm going to be able to really move this around. Which means I will probably end up going to Bobcat tomorrow. I do not think we are going to get it back. Which probably means that it's junk anyways, right? So that is my problem. I need a new pickup tube and check valve for that little swill willy in there. So so yeah, that's what it's looking like. If I get you guys back off here, this magnet is pretty tough. So here's my part. You can see that hose right there. It's broke off. Yeah. The worst part is it has a check valve on the bottom in there somewhere. I know I can get the hose downtown, but I cannot get a check valve downtown, which is going to work for that application. So I'm going to try and fish a little bit more, but I don't think it's going to show up. I really don't know what the bottom of the tank looks like, if it's flat or if it has any drops in or anything. So anyways, this is where we're sitting for right now. Alright, so what I have determined is with a little bit of persuasion, a 3/8 nut will fit over this tube. It's a tight fit, and it'll fit down in that hole. I'm going to thread 2 of these nuts on there, basically to try and keep this tube in the bottom of the tank because it wants to curl up, and it'd be nothing more irritating than still having half a tank of fuel in there and sucking air. So hopefully a couple of these nuts on the end will be enough weight to hold it in the bottom of the tank. I really would like to get one of them screens, and they don't carry them down there. She can order it in for me if I want, and I will probably have her do that. And then I'm going to find, like I say, that plastic 1/4" ID tube that Trampler recommended, and I agree with him because basically the tube that they sell is vinyl just like this, and I'm pretty sure the diesel fuel just deteriorates them too fast. I'm going to put 3 on there just for good measure, if I can get it on there. So I'll have to call the Napa dealer, buddy of mine, and see if he can get me that plastic tube. And then get that, and then I'll get that screen for the end of it, or even ask him, maybe he can get me one of them screens to put on the end of it. But I think that plastic tube would last a lot longer than this crap. And hopefully it'll never be an issue again if I get that stuff. There, I think that's enough weight. That should hold it to the bottom. And right now it's stiff because it's cold. It is 12 degrees outside right now, or no, it's 10 degrees outside right now. When I come out this morning it was 5 degrees. So yeah, it's not very warm out. Now the fun part of trying to get this all down through that hole. I'm pretty sure these nuts will fit through there, hopefully. Keep our fingers crossed. If not, I'll probably have to grind them down a little bit. They're going to be just a little too much, so I'm going to grind them down, and hopefully they'll fit in there, so stay tuned, guys. Alright, guys, so Bobcat does not have the parts that I need in stock. Apparently they are not putting that screen on the end of the tubes anymore. So instead of me spending 2 hours driving down there just to get a vinyl tube from them, I just went down to my local Cenex in town and got a piece of 1/4" black rubber hose for right now. You can see that. And then I just put a barbed end on here for weight to try and keep it in the bottom of the tank. I found, and I believe she can get me that filter piece for the end. But she does not have it in stock. I need the skid loader going today, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this rubber tube down in there, and then I'm going to get that filter screen, check valve, whatever deal it is that goes on the end. And then I'm going to get some plastic. I believe it's airline, 1/4" ID airline. I'm going to order that from my buddy at Napa. So yeah, this right here is basically going to be a temporary fix today, and it's going to be kind of a tight fit. Trying to get this rubber tube in there because it's pretty much the same diameter as the hole. But actually it's going in there pretty decent. What I'm going to do is hook it to the fuel line before I get all the way down in there. I'm going to have to try and put that hose clamp on later. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys can't see what I'm doing. And I'll move you guys. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully we don't have to beep anything out here. Try and get you, step back in here. You can see right there, I can't really move the camera anymore. I'm going to tighten up this hose clamp quick. And then try and push him down in there and seat up that plastic bung or whatever you want to call it. Like I say, this is kind of going to be a temporary fix. I'm going to get them other parts ordered and fix it the way I feel is the right way. I'm going to pull that extra fuel line through the back. Not messing with me here. It must be sitting in there funny. It's pulling awfully hard. It must have got caught underneath the hydro motor here. Wedged in there. Of course you can't really get your hand under it. You might be able to push it back with the pry bar. There we go, I think it's free now. Feels like it. So yeah, it's this is going to be a temporary fix today. Like I say, it's not the way I would like to fix it. So it'll be enough to get the cows taken care of. Get it now? Yep, I got her. I'll pull it back this way a little bit. So yeah, like I'm saying here, it's kind of going to be a temporary fix until I can get the stuff that I want to use to fix it. But I've got cows to feed today, so it's got to be up and running. And I've heard that this is kind of a pain to get this rubber grommet back in there. It's not in there yet. I'm gonna spray a little bit of oil down there. JB80 because it's twice as good. And it won't hurt the injector pump if it goes through there. Nothing else, it'll lube her up a little bit. I may have to try and get a second pry bar on the back side of it. I can't tell for sure if it's in there all the way or not. Kind of looks like it, but at the same time, it don't look like it because it's not. It's like I can push all the way down and it pops right back up. Try and pull it back out a little bit. Around the hole just to make sure that there's not something sitting on top here that's messing with me. All kinds of critter on there. Tried cleaning it the best I could, but normally that's never good enough. Try this again. Now that I don't have any penetrating oil on there anymore. Twist on the roll. Gonna stay in there now? Seems like it's in there. Hopefully it stays in there. fuel to that end. Is this still in there? Looks like it's still in there. And it stays in there. And I can feel on the backside it's not in there with my fingers. So I'm gonna have to try and pry down that even more. Take my coat off too. Working in front of the heater doesn't require wearing a coat, I'll tell you what. And I wonder if I can't pry it down like that. And get this pry bar in the front. And get him to seat in there somehow. Why, he just don't want to seat in there very well. Funny thing is, it looks like it's seated in there, but the backside is not in. It's just barely sticking out. I think made it worse. Need to move, Mama. Yeah, cat's in my face, and that doesn't help me either. Well, another thing I read said that it won't go in there when it's seated all the way like it is now, so I don't know how they figure you're going to get it in there any other way. Fun, let me tell you. I can't get between there and use that to pry down. Where can I use that? There. Backside just does not want to seat down in there. Is it in there now? I feel like I'm gonna rip the fuel tank in half. Feels like it's in there now. Push down on her just a little bit more. It's in there now. There you go. That's that. So, grab my screwdriver here, move it to the back, and I will try to set you guys up like so. And I plan to take the electric pump back off of it now that I know it's not that. The electric pump was just a temporary thing to figure out what's going on here anyways. So we will take him back off. And then I will cut my wires there. I'll cut the Scotch locks off here in a little bit, but for right now I'm just going to disconnect these so I can get him out of my way. And I did buy a new piece of fuel line for this part right here because I think that primer bulb is supposed to sit flat in the bottom. So bear with me, I don't have very good, my right arm doesn't work very well after my accident, so sometimes I look like I'm shaking and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Now I'll go grab that fuel line. It'll be long enough. No, it's gonna have to work for right now. Yeah, keep that primer bulb fairly flat. And it'll go on there like so. Grab this hose clamp off in there. Him on there. Hook him back up on there. Tighten that up. Just tighten that one to double check because I did loosen it yesterday when I blew back into the tank. There's that. Get these all tucked back in there all nice and pretty. We are pumping fuel. I got the return from those cracked. So I am going to try and fire it. You guys are going to hear it start, hopefully. Actually, you're not going to hear it start because I got to drop the cab for that. I don't like how that is though. That primer bulb being up in the air, so I'm gonna take that line back off. I have a longer line here. Being it doesn't have that filter screen in the tank, which some people say it has a check valve in it, other people say that it doesn't. But being I don't have that on here, I would feel more comfortable if that primer bulb was laying flat. I'm gonna put this hose clamp on first. There's that. And then I used to come around the back side down in here. Kind of keeps that fuel line tight to the motor. Oh, I gotta find my hose clamp that I lost. There it is. Put him back on there. We'll tighten him back up again. It'll be fun once I get the other fuel line, getting that rubber grommet back in that fuel tank, doing it all over again. But hopefully once I get that plastic line, hopefully that'll be the last time I ever got to do that. Pump this up again. There's that. Now we will drop the cab. This is probably going to get to be kind of a long video here. I'm going to turn my screen around so I can make sure I'm pointing you guys in the right direction. I'll move my light, my tools, drop the cab back down, and get the cats out of the way because they seem to think they've always got to be right in the way. Pry bars. cab back down. There, now, cross our fingers. Prime it a couple more times, and then I'll fire it up. That's not the exact right way to do it, but this has happened many, many times out in the field, and normally I can get it running again this way. It runs rough for a couple minutes and smooth it back on here to keep the cab bolted down. I gotta raise the boom back up so I can get that boom lock out. I don't see any fuel leaking anywhere. Good to go for a while. Say until I at least get some other parts. And for today, I'm not going to bolt the cab back down because I want to lift this cab again when I'm done, just to make for sure that that rubber grommet didn't pop back out. So yeah. Anyways, that was the problem. Pickup feed tube coming out of the fuel tank was the issue. It's just funny that for the last 4 or 5 years, it dies every time it gets cold. It'll die, and then all of a sudden I'll get it running, and you know, it keeps running or whatever. And then now it turns out that's what the problem was. And now this year it totally broke. There was somebody that made the comment that it was a pickup feed tube, and that if I don't fix it sooner or later, it's going to break eventually. Well, they had that one 100% correct, because eventually happened yesterday. So that was the problem. Hopefully she's good to go. And basically it's a temporary fix unless somebody thinks the way I did it will work. I don't know how that rubber tube is going to be sitting in diesel fuel all the time. I mean, it is a fuel line, so it might work longer than what the vinyl one would. I don't know. If anybody thinks that that's a good enough fix, maybe I'll just run it the way it is, and I will get the other parts and have them here for the next time we have this little rodeo, and fix it then. But let me know what you guys think. But I'm not gonna bolt the cab down today until after I'm done with chores, just to make sure that rubber grommet is still seated where it belongs. And Dippy there's gonna have to move because I'm putting the door back on. But anyways, thanks for watching. Comment, rate, subscribe. Stay tuned for more, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.